So today I want to start with the Romancing Saga 2 remake news. So like I always say, every day on the official Saga series Japanese Twitter, they publish some gameplay clips to explain the game systems of the remake, and most of the time it's stuff that was already in the original game on Super Famicom, but sometimes you also have some new elements. This is not new. This is from the base game. So in the base Romancing Saga 2, you had 8 different weapon types. So you had swords, great swords, short swords, spears, axes. I couldn't read this kanji, so I had to check. It's clubs basically, bows. So you have 8 different weapon types. And you also have different jutsu types, techniques. It's magic basically. So you have fire. There's 6 different elements. You have fire, water, wind, earth, light, and darkness. Depending on the techniques you use, they have a different elements, different affinities. So they showed this short gameplay clip, like to explain. So this is light magic. Or was it? I think that was light and fire combined, because one of the peculiarities of Romancing Saga 2 is that you had combination magic. This is light and fire combined. Flash fire. So yeah, they look pretty good. Like the visuals, the effects, they look really nice. Like they did a really great job. They explained that, and they explained it wasn't this one, it was this one. So they also explained that the enemies are weaknesses, and this too is something that was in the original game. However, now I paused at that point because I wanted to show something specific. Like here, now it's just like in Octopath Traveler, for example, to take a recent example. In the original game, the enemies, they all had weaknesses. However, they weren't displayed like this. But in this remake, the weaknesses are displayed, and the weaknesses you discovered are displayed at the bottom of the enemy's name, so you can tell with a quick glance what the weaknesses are. So this is pretty convenient and a pretty interesting change. But yeah, the weakness system itself is already in the base game, and you could tell like some enemies, their weaknesses depending on their visuals. For example, some fire-looking enemy, you could tell it was weak to water magic and stuff. But yeah, each enemy has different weaknesses depending on the weapons and the magic elements. So this is like an expansion of the base system that was already in the original Super Famicom game. And if you look at the timeline, I think there's some effects on the timeline as well that I will probably explain later on. Because this is also a difference compared to the original game. This is a timeline-based battle system, whereas in the original game, the characters would move depending on their speeds. Here you can tell from a glance when the characters will move, when they will act. And the third gameplay clip is some more class introductions. And these are the base magicians, basically the male and female versions of the first magicians you can recruit in the capital's castle. And one thing I wanted to talk about is it looks like, as a previous time I was saying that these lines are specifically for Gerard, so it's specifically for the beginning of the game when you're playing as Gerard, you're the first emperor you really have control of. And this is interesting because these short events dialogues also serve as tutorials, because they explain that magics, they only grow, like your magic skills, they will only grow stronger if you keep using them in battle. So the more you use the fire magics, the stronger that character's fire magic will become. So if you want an emperor with good magic skills for all attributes, you must keep using different attributes. it's pretty funny that they use these kind of small chit chat talk events to use as tutorials as in-game. Like it's pretty cool narrative included into gameplay, like just like the original game, because one of the biggest strengths of the original Romancing Saga the game is how it mixes narration and gameplay together. Like there's some gameplay phases that you can only unlock depending on your story choices and depending on what you decide to develop in the capital. Like if you decide to develop smithing or forging weapons or armor, etc. And it's pretty interesting that they added more tutorials to make it more like easier for people who don't know much about RPGs or the Saga series, for newcomers of the Saga series. At the same time, the tutorials are included into these kind of dialogues, which is a really nice touch in my opinion. So yeah, that's just what I wanted to talk about regarding Romancing Saga 2 Remake this time. So hopefully next video we'll have more clips to analyze and talk about as well. So Palworld parent company Pocket Pair, a Japanese company, they announced they've associated with Aniplex, which is Sony, another Japanese company, in order to make the Palworld Entertainment company, which will deal with developing Palworld from now on. And I don't really care about the game. I do like talking about it because I was actually covering it long before its release, ever since it got announced, because I also used to follow Craftopia. And there's several things I like to talk about this announcement. First is Sony is actually believing in Palworld, so it's pretty interesting because Sony overall these last 3 years, they've been very, very cold toward Japanese market, because since I know this Japanese gaming market has switched from consoles, home consoles, to mobile, they haven't been really doing a lot of Japanese games, right? And plus, so it's the first time in a while that Sony is putting like so much trust in a Japanese game, in a sense. It's pretty interesting. Like if you look at the PlayStation Showcase nowadays, the state of plays and stuff, they're always at a time which is like midnight or like in the middle of the night or extremely early morning in Japan. So they don't expect people in Japan to watch this. So this shows like how much like they don't really consider the Japanese market as a priority anymore. I haven't talked they will officially say otherwise, but that's what I feel personally. But anyway, so this is interesting because it's the first time in a big while that Sony is putting so much trust in a Japanese game. And I think another interesting point is that maybe, I guess, Palworld will actually get completed one day, maybe. Because the thing about Pocket Pair is, sadly, if you look at the past game, Craftopia, it was also in early access, and it released in early access, and it pretty much stayed this way. And a lot of people who played Craftopia release, at early access release, were kinda angry at Palworld getting released because they felt that Craftopia was getting abandoned. And in a sense, they're kinda right. And like, I'm not sure, like, are they ever going to finish this game? And like, I assume at least if Pocket Pair made a specific company for Palworld, at least they plan to continue developing Palworld properly. And earlier this month there was a new release that added some stuff and some Sakura trees and stuff. I didn't really follow because I'm not that interested. But yeah, it's pretty like interesting news from if you look at it from Sony. If you take a look at what Sony's been doing. So like, maybe Sony, like, the whole Japanese studio Sony has is the Japan studios, and they're doing the Astro Robo games. Like that's it, and they're not doing the Gravity Days anymore, and all these quirky Sony games that you had on PlayStation and stuff. They're not doing that anymore. So they're just focusing on AAA mainstream cinematographic games. So Palworld is kind of different from that, so while I don't like the game personally, maybe this is good news for the long run. Maybe Sony will start focusing on making a little bit more interesting games, like aren't just mainstream, streamlined stuff, boring stuff I couldn't care about personally. But like, maybe instead of just focusing on trying to make some blockbusters, trying to make some more smaller games and maybe more interesting stuff. So that's my analysis of this Palworld Entertainment announcement anyway. But like, this is too early to tell, and we'll see how it pans out in maybe a year or two or something. Maybe if, and also an interesting, important thing to follow is whether Craft Opera will keep getting updated or not. Well, I just wanted to quickly talk about that. So the next big news is that Japanese outlets published some previews for the Dragon Quest III remake with some long gameplay videos on YouTube. So you have Famitsu and Dengeki, they both published some videos. Famitsu and Dengeki, which are both owned by Kadokawa, but they make their own different stuff. So you have two different previews. And you have one from V-Jump magazine and one from 4Gamer. So I didn't watch all of these myself, but I will include them in the article for these episodes, so you'll be able to watch them yourself. And to quickly comment on this, they did some previews and they also revealed some new comments from Hori Yuji-san, the producer director of the Dragon Quest series, one of the co-creators of the series. And most notably, they revealed that the remake will have some new story elements which will be supervised by Hori, as he's the main scenarist of the Dragon Quest series as well. So yeah, these new elements will probably be related to some of the changes that will be made later on in the Dragon Quest 1 and 2 remakes as well. So this is pretty interesting to know. And another thing they detail is that just like in the original game, you will have random encounters, so there's still no symbol encounters. That's not a change I was expecting, because like I didn't expect them to go with symbol encounters. So yeah, it's pretty. They're keeping the very classic random encounters from the original games. And one thing that surprised me is that they're adding difficulty levels to the game. I'm not a Dragon Quest specialist, like I only played 8 a little bit 20 years ago, so I'm not really knowledgeable about the series at all, so I'm not sure if this is a first in the series ever or not. But this is pretty interesting. They are going to add 3 different difficulty levels to choose from, so people who have some hard time will be able to clear the game pretty easily. And another very interesting feature that the previews talk about is that they're going to add a backlog feature, which is not really a backlog feature, but more like something that allows you to recheck, to reread the past dialogues you've had recently. So, for example, I think it says the 30 last dialogues you've seen. So it's pretty interesting, because in these older pages, NPCs will always give you some directions and some hints regarding some riddles or some dungeon, like, hey, this enemy in this forest can give you poison status ailments, so you better buy some antidotes. This kind of hints and this kind of like hints to help you get through the game. Like, this is pretty interesting, because if you're in a dungeon and you're not sure anymore, like, what did the NPC at the village tell you, you can check at any time the last recent dialogues you've had. So this is a really interesting feature. Like, I think a lot of older RPGs, if you re-release them with remasters, this will add this feature. It's a really good idea, and I'm not sure if Remaster already did that before, because usually they only add backlogs, and this is the first time I hear about a feature like that. So this is really cool, so I think it's a really good idea. And regarding the PS5 version, they also explained that they're going to be a graphics mode or a FPS mode. This is just like pretty much every PS5 game, I think. I don't own a PS5 myself, so I can't be certain, but yeah. You'll be able to choose whether you want the game to look as pretty as possible, or whether you prefer the game to be as fast as possible. And another thing, this will be only for the Japanese versions of Dragon Quest III, but you'll be able to activate or remove furigana and ruby on the words, which is really useful if you're learning Japanese, because you'll be able to see how to read the kanji if you don't know how to read it. So it's really good. I think by default the Dragon Quest games in Japan always had furigana, but this time you'll be able to toggle it on and off for people who want to, like, if you're learning Japanese and you want to remove the training wheels and you want to remove furigana and see if you can recognize and read the kanji. It's a pretty good feature. And I think the last big thing I've seen is that you'll be able to remap the confirm button, whether you prefer that to be on X or on circle. She's a really good feature because, like, then again, she's that sort of thing like every game should have, I think, because sometimes when you switch from Japanese games to others, it depends because in Japan it's circle confirm. So these are some pretty nice features, and I'm really looking forward to the game. So yeah, I'm not a big fan of Dragon Quest. Like, I never really got into the series. To be honest, like this, it's unlikely I will ever be able to get into the series in this lifetime, because like there's other games I want to play, and like it's not that I'm not interested because I'm a big fan of Toriyama, of course, Toriyama Sensei who passed away sadly. But like, don't really. There's other games I want to play. Dragon Quest series isn't part of these older games I've always known about since I was a kid, and so that I've always wanted to play. So, like, I did know about it, but I wasn't particularly interested ever. So, I think as a kid I played a little bit of 5 on Super Nintendo. I think. With stuff via emulation, but it was in Japanese, so I couldn't really progress well. And then, like in early 2000s, when 8 was released, it was the first Dragon Quest game getting released in Europe. I played a little bit at my best friend's place. I played 8, like maybe 1/4 of the game or something, but I never finished it. But yeah, if I ever play Dragon Quest, I wanna play 1, 2, 3, and I would like to play the original games. So I don't think I will play these remakes, but I'm really happy about them. And it's also interesting to note because I'm sure you know this if you're listening to if you're listening to a news show from a niche person like myself. But this isn't the first Dragon Quest 3 remake, because it's such a popular game and it's such an iconic and legendary series in Japan. That's like, I think every 20 years you would get a new Dragon Quest 3 remake. So I think the game was already remade. Like you had the DS versions, of course. You had maybe other platforms as well. So yeah, yeah, I'm pretty excited because I know a lot of, like, for example, over on Twitter, I have a lot of Japanese acquaintances who are really hyped about this remake. So I'm pretty hyped up so I'm pretty hyped up for them. But like, I'm not particularly interested myself. But yeah, I will be putting the links of these previews on the article if you want to check. Another thing I wanted to talk about is that they confirmed the voices for the protagonists. You have a male and female protagonist, and the male protagonist is voiced by Hiyama Nobuyuki, who is one of my favorite seiyuu ever, a very legendary seiyuu. He started, his first big role was here in Yu Yu Hakusho, and then he did Link's voice in Ocarina of Time, he did Guy in Gal Geiger, and he was also viral in Gurren Lagann, which is one of his most popular roles when it comes to English-speaking anime fans over 10 years ago. And he was also Arken Browning in Mugen no Frontier, Super Robot Wars spin-off. I think this is probably his favorite role of mine because I really like Super Robot Wars. If you check the video games list, like, yeah, he was also Joe Higashi in the first King of Fighters and Fatal Fury games. I think he didn't do his voice anymore. Maybe he's still doing his voice, I'm not sure. And yeah, he's vague in Tales of Rebirth. Like, this is a really good Tales of game that sadly never really sold out Japan. And sadly, seeing how Bandai Namco is doing nowadays and seeing how the Tales of series is doing nowadays, it's very unlikely they will ever do a remaster or a remake and actually localize the game. But yeah, he was the protagonist of Tales of Rebirth. He was also, who else? Yeah, Haken Browning in Super Robot Tyson OG Saga Mugen no Frontier. This is one of my favorite roles of his. And he was also Peter in Resonance of Fate, a really cool, really funny role. So yeah, viral in Super Robot Wars because Gurren Lagann appeared in several Super Robot Wars games. What else do we have? Yeah, he's Maito, the protagonist of what was his name again? Maito Gain. And yeah, since he voiced the hero in Smash Ultimate, and I think he voiced him previously, so that's why they kept him for the for the Dragon Quest III remake as well. And the female hero is voiced by Minaguchi Yuko, who is Vidal's voice in Dragon Ball. And I don't really know her roles that much, so I need to check. Oh, she's Farah in Tales of Eternia, one of the protagonist playable characters. She's Momiji in Koei Tecmo in Ninja Gaiden. And yeah, I think that's all. I don't know her roles that much. Momiji is probably my favorite role of her. And yeah, so this is pretty nice. As a side note, it's in Japanese, in the games, they actually don't call them male or female protagonists. They just say type A or type B, and which is funny because, of course, you have people who are angry about completely pointless. Who cares? Like, who cares? But some people are getting really angry about it. Otherwise, the woke media are some kind of bit like people. Some people like to focus on. So obviously, like Dragon Quest isn't that popular in USA, so in the first place, like if you see people complaining about that, you know they're hate farmers. Most of the people complaining about work stuff, they don't even care about the stuff they're talking about. Like they don't even know about the Dragon Quest series. They just find a new thing to complain about and to be hateful about, and they go all in. They don't even care about the thing they're talking about. So you should ignore these people. You shouldn't put them any mind. And yeah, they reveal some more screenshots, like you have the world map, some more screenshots and stuff. So I will be putting these links of these previews on the article. And yeah, this is the artwork from the same, I forgot his name, it's the same artist who's doing the Octopath Traveler illustrations, if I remember correctly. So yeah, Dragon Quest 3 Remake is going to be out in 2020, in November 14th, 2024. So yeah, pretty exciting game. Like I want to play the original first. So I'm not gonna play the remake, but yeah, very very exciting game. Just wanted to make a quick segment about that because this is probably the biggest news of the week. These previews, like everyone on Japanese Twitter was talking about it since Dragon Quest is such a legendary series in Japan. So yeah. So another cool news I wanted to talk about is that Project Egg, they have released Popful Mail on Nintendo Switch, and Popful Mail is a Nihon Falcom action RPG, side-scrolling RPG that was released like in 1999, and it's by Falcom, so it's pretty similar to the East series. And this is one of these games I've known since I was a kid, so and that I've always wanted to play myself. So maybe I will try it out with this Switch port when I have the time, inshallah. And this is pretty funny because one of the reasons why I was interested in this game is that the protagonist is voiced. I forgot her name, but the protagonist, I think Popful Mail is also her name. The game is named after her. I'm not sure anymore. But anyway, the protagonist is voiced by Hayashibara Megumi, which is one of my favorite seiyuu ever because she is Lina Inverse in Slayers, the protagonist of Slayers. And the protagonist of Popful Mail is extremely based on Lina from Slayers. They are very similar characters. They have very similar personalities, like very greedy girl that's always looking to get more gold and stuff. This is one of the first, like you can tell, the Slayers novel started in 1989, so this was its first big influence. Like this game is pretty much like a Slayers adaptation, but without the license, in my opinion, I think. So yeah, I'd like to try to play it out one day. See how it is. Like I don't even care if it's actually a bad game, but I just want to play it. Apparently it's in English as well. I didn't know it had an English version. So yeah, it's in English on Switch. So yeah, I'm maybe gonna try to play it sometime soon, like if I have the time. So I just wanted to quickly talk about this. You have some screenshots of the game as well. You have some short trailer as well. You can watch together. See, she's talking about money. 50,000 gold coins or something. Like she's just thinking about money. And yeah, her name is Mail, and the game is called Popful Mail. Well, I really wanna try playing this game one day. So it's pretty funny. Project Egg has been existing for like 20 years, and at first they used to do release on PC uniquely, I think. And recently, like since maybe 2 years ago or something, they started doing Switch releases as well. So yeah, it's a PC 88 game, so the scrolling is kinda pretty slow, but like I don't care. Like, I want to try and see the story one day. And I think there was a Saturn version with voices because it's the unvoiced version. I think there was a PC 98 version and a Mega CD version, a PC Engine version, and I think it's one of these versions where the Hayashibara Megumi is voicing. Yeah, the voices are in the Mega CD versions and the PC Engine versions only. So yeah, you have Hayashibara Megumi and Namae, Koda Mariko, who voiced her. So yeah, this is definitely like a character that's Slayer's directly inspired. So I really wanna try to play it one day. Like I'm not sure if I'm gonna play this version or maybe the PC Engine version because I wanna hear the voice dialogues with Hayashibara Megumi. Yeah, pretty fun news. I wanted to talk about this. So another thing I want to talk about is Renatis, of course, because I've been talking about it regularly and I've translated the first live stream of the game as well. If you haven't checked it out yet on my blog, so please check that out as well. So yeah, at Den Famicom Gamer, which is a Japanese outlet, they published a brand new interview with Isobe Takumi, the producer and the director of Renatis. I didn't read the interview yet because it's pretty long. Like this is just the first page. This is just the first page and there's another page. So I didn't read it yet. But yeah, the title mentions that he's talking about how much he hates how Japanese society tends to put down people's individuality and how he seeks to display and express his individuality through these games. So this must be a pretty interesting interview. So I'm not sure when I will have the time to translate it or read it and translate it, but maybe hopefully I'll be able to do it like in a few weeks or so on my blog. And yeah, he's talking about how he used to be the director of Trinity Trigger as well, which released like 1 year ago or something. This is kind of a Seiken-based game. This is kind of a game similar to Secret of Mana, but I didn't hear many good things about it, and I heard it was kind of bad. So this is Renatis is going to be the second title he's directing after Trinity Trigger. But I think Renatis already looks much better gameplay wise, so I'm not really worried or anything. But yeah, this is just a quick news to say there's a new interview with Isobe, and he's a really cool person, so I really wanna read what he says. So maybe when I have the time, I will try to do a summary, but for now, I don't really have the time. So yeah, this is a really, really long interview focusing on how this works and all the stuff he did in the past on Renatis, which is releasing at the end of the month in Japan. Well, yeah, I'm gonna try to see if I have the time to summarize this in a few weeks or so. So yeah, I just wanted to quickly talk about it for now. So another very short news is that Livewire and Cave, they announced that on August 10th, Mishime-sama, the Switch port of Mishime-sama, will get removed from the Nintendo Switch Online. And you won't be able to buy it anymore. But if you already bought the game, you'll be able to download it again, even if you deleted it. And sadly, this kind of licenses running out and games getting removed from online stores is pretty common nowadays, sadly. So yeah, it's pretty sad news. I never actually played Mishime-sama myself, I think, but I really do like Cave Danmaku. actually, I don't think I ever played any of them myself. Maybe Dodonpachi a little bit, but like I don't really have the time and I don't really have the patience to train and try to run credit and to score and stuff. But I do like the stories and I do like the characters of these games. And in particular, I always really liked Mishime-sama's design. I think her name was Lara or something, Urara or something. I forgot. She looks pretty similar to Lara in Puripara from Pretty Series. Like I think I like back when Puripara got announced over 10 years ago, the first thing I thought of was Creamy Mami and Mishime-sama because they look pretty similar. But yeah, just a quick news to say, like if you wanna buy Mishime-sama as a Switch port, you should buy it now because it's gonna get removed on August 10th. So coming up next, we have Mages who announce game adaptation, an adventure ADV game adaptation for the manga Kanojo Karishimasu. The English name is Rent a Girlfriend. I forgot the name of the author. Mizushima by Mizushima Reiji. And Mage has been doing this kind of game adaptation a lot recently, making some visual novel game adaptations for popular rom-com, popular romance comedy manga for male audience. And in the past, recently they did 2 Gotobun no Hanayome games, the Kentu Sensei Kenjuplets. They did 2 games of that, and they released in Japan like a few years ago, and they're actually getting released in English soon. And so yeah, Mages has been doing quite a lot of these anime adaptations recently. So this is going to be like what we call a visual novel in English. It's going to be an ADV game, and I assume if it follows the same pattern as the Gotobun no Hanayome games, they will have a specific story, a specific ending for each of the girls. And the game will be released on Switch and PS4 and sometimes later this year. And there's more information coming in a few weeks, I guess. Yeah, this is pretty funny because Kanojo Karishimasu is a pretty popular series overall, I think. So but at the same time, it's not the kind of like I didn't expect Mages to be adapting this into a game. So I think Miyajima Reiji Sensei. So the manga started in 2017, and if I remember correctly, I started reading it back then. However, I stopped pretty fast because I didn't like it much. Like it wasn't very for me. But anyway, first let's check out the announcement trailer for the game.
週刊少年マガジンにて連載中、宮島礼二先生による累計1300万部突破のメガヒットラブコメ「彼女をお借りします」がついに任天堂スイッチ、プレイステーション4に登場。彼女をお借りします、水平線と水着の彼女。予約開始と詳細のお知らせは8月5日の月曜日に公開予定。みんな待っててくれよな。
So yeah, the game will get on pre-order. Pre-orders for the game will start on August 5th, and they will reveal the shop-specific pre-order bonuses at that time as well. Usually for games like this, the shop-specific pre-order bonuses are all like kind of pin-ups, illustrations of the girls and stuff, so you can expect this kind of stuff. So yeah, Kanojo Karishimasu, yeah, I was reading some of the manga back when it started, and I actually liked it a lot because I thought it was pretty interesting to see a love comedy with the parents and the grandparents of the characters playing a big role and being main characters themselves. It kind of made me think of Ranma. And yeah, the basic pitch is like I forgot the MC's name. I think it's probably written here. Kazuya, yeah, Kazuya, he ends up breaking with his girlfriend, and then he ends up renting a girlfriend because I think it's his parents or his grandparents. They want to see him. He lied about having a girlfriend, so he ends up renting a girl. And I really liked it, but at the same time, like I dropped it pretty fast because I really couldn't stand Kazuya because he always seems to take the worst decisions possible, and it feels like it's kind of forced. Like he's a really big idiot. So at the same time, like he's kind of a good person, but he's kind of like really. He always takes the worst decisions possible. He's always lying, etc. And with very few, like it takes a long time to develop. So I ended up dropping it, and the manga is still ongoing now with over 300 chapters. So yeah, personally, I don't like it, but I think it's a pretty good series overall. Like if you can't stand the protagonist, I think it's a good series. Sadly, I couldn't. But yeah, I think sadly a lot of people seem to hate on Kanojo Karishima's on Rent a Girlfriend for kind of the wrong reasons. One thing I really dislike is when I feel people are disliking something for the wrong reasons, and like obviously you have the kind of people who will say it's a sexist series or whatever, like the kind of people who have very USA centric cultural point of views, and like they will say the series has some fan service, so it's sexist and whatever. And you also have people saying like Miyajima Reiji Sensei is just a pervert and like it's whatever. And I think one example in particular I wanted to bring up is a few months ago, I read the chapter myself because a lot of people I knew were talking about it. Like maybe around a year ago, something, there was a chapter where the main heroine, Chizuru, she was talking about having a girl's day, a menstruation period. It was pretty interesting because apparently, like some of the fans I know online, they were saying that some people were making fun of the chapters, saying like Miyajima Sensei is so dumb, like he did a whole page to make her say she has her period and stuff, and they're saying like it's kind of dumb and stuff. But personally, I think it was actually pretty cool because it's not often that you see a Dansei Muke. Dansei Muke is like a manga and anime and games with an primarily male audience, like for male teenagers, male kids, and male young adults. It's very like in a shonen in a shonen magazine like this. It's very rare, I think, to see the characters actually talk about menstruation seriously and without without misogyny and without making fun of women. And to be honest, like I've been watching anime for as long as I can remember. And like the sole examples that come to mind of Donsei Muke, like male-oriented series talking about menstruation seriously, is like the Dream Hunter Ram OVAs from the 80s. It's a pretty funny OVA series. Like it's a like you should watch it. Like maybe I'll make some video about it one day. But Dream Hunter Ram is a really good OVA series from the 80s. It's one of my favorites. And that was in the second OVA, I remember correctly. There's a scene with one of the girls having her first menstruation, and the protagonist Rem is explaining to her what it is in a serious way. And the other example that comes to mind is Slayers. And besides that, like I don't think I've ever seen some Donsei Muke manga or anime actually talk about menstruation seriously. So I think Kanojo Karishimas actually does some pretty good things sometimes. And Miyajima Sensei, a lot of people hate on him for the wrong reasons, in my opinion. And yeah, in Slayers in particular, if I remember correctly, it was about how Lina. It was at the beginning of the Rezo arc, back when Lina and Gauri meet Zelgadis for the first time ever, and it's very early in the story, right? So Lina is fighting Zelgadis, and she ends up losing against him. And they talk about how she actually can't use most of her spells, most of her magic at that time because she's actually on her menstruation period. And this is pretty interesting scene because, like, they use it as a joke, but at the same time they're talking about it seriously. And I think it's a really good example because it shows that even for subjects like this, you can actually do it as a joke as long as it's not actually offensive, as long as you're not actually making fun of women having their period. I think this can be like, this can work. This kind of humor can work if you do it properly. And in Slayers, in my opinion, they do it really properly because it's really funny, because they explain that Lina lost to Zelgadis because she can't use her music because it's her day. At the same time, they explain that Lina Indras, because she's such a genius and she's such a hard worker. At the same time, she's a master of psychological warfare, Lina. Like if you read the Slayers novels in Japanese, it's really incredible how Lina is written, because it's written from her point of view, and you can tell how she makes her opponents riled up and angry, so they lose their cool, so she can win, and this stuff and that kind of stuff. And Lina is a really, really good hard worker, and she is used to traveling alone. So this scene in Slayers, when they're kind of making fun of her having a menstruation, at the same time it's a serious scene, because it explains that Lina is actually she's actually so hardworking and so gifted, and she's so talented that she actually trained herself so she can still actually use some magic even when it's her day. So that way she's not a full power, but she can still fight. And I remember thinking that was actually pretty cool, and that was a pretty cool scene in my opinion, because despite the pain she can have, and despite the inconveniences of her menstruation, she can actually still use some magic because she trained herself to be able to do it, so she doesn't end up dying like if she gets attacked during these days. So this was really, really cool in my opinion. This was in the anime, if I remember correctly. I've never read the first half of the Slayers novels, so I'm not sure how this scene plays out in the novel, but I assume it's pretty similar. Keep in mind, this was like, I watched the Slayers anime for the first time like over 25 years ago or something, so maybe I don't remember it properly, and maybe it happens a little bit differently than what I just said. But yes, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's how it went, and I thought it was a really, really great scene. But yeah, anyway, so my point is, Kanojo Karishima's, personally, I don't like it, but I think a lot of people hate it for the wrong reasons, and that kind of pissed me off, because I really hate it when people hate something for the wrong reasons, and they criticize something for the wrong reasons. So if you can stand the protagonist, it's maybe definitely worth reading, and maybe myself, I will pick up the manga one day, maybe when the manga ends. I think I will try to reread it from the beginning and read it all in one go, so I'm not as much like pissed off by the protagonist, by Reiji Kazuya, because like, yeah, it's very difficult to deal with, like, but I think he gets better maybe over the chapters, but I'm not sure. But I think it gets better because in this chapter, like, it's very understanding and it's very interesting. Like, the author made it pretty cool. It's a very, very good chapter. So yeah, I'm gonna try to read it one day, and I'm not sure if I'll ever play the game adaptation, because like, I have so many games I want to play, so I doubt I will play this, but this is pretty cool overall. So yeah, I just wanted to tell this, like, if you like romance comedies, I don't think it's the best romance comedy of these recent years, but it's still pretty good if you can stand the protagonist, Kanojo Karishima's Rent a Girlfriend. I think the anime adaptation is pretty famous as well, because I think they already did 2 seasons, maybe 3 seasons. So yeah, and since they're releasing this game, it's also possible they're going to announce a new anime season soon, maybe. We'll see. Anyways, this was pretty long, but just to say, like, you shouldn't hate on things without checking them out yourself. You should have a broad mind to check things out. If you have a broad mind, you should check out Kanojo Karishima's. I think it's a pretty good series, even if myself I don't like it. There are some pretty good chapters, most notably this chapter. I think it was chapter, I wrote it down, it was chapter 305. Chapter 305. This is where this happens. Like, a really, really good chapter. So yeah, just wanted to talk about all this. Coming up next, I'm going to talk about the next game in the Trail series, Eiyu Densetsu Kai no Kiseki, Farewell or Zemuria. So, if you don't wanna see some spoilers on the Trail series, you should skip this segment. But keep in mind that I'm not going to talk about deep spoilers or anything. I'm not gonna translate the new profiles of the characters or anything. And it's just like if you don't want to see anything about the game at all, you should skip this segment. But yeah, Falcom, they updated the official site of Kai no Kiseki to add the profiles of Rin and Crow and Altina, etc. The characters we've seen in the latest trailer. So yeah, they revealed some new screenshots and the new portraits for Rin and for Crow and for Altina and for Fi is the same portrait as before, and for Toa. And yeah, I wanted to talk about this because I'm a big fan of the Kiseki series, even though I never finished a game myself. So I'm trying to not spoil myself anymore the series. So I'm not gonna read this and I'm not gonna translate it. In the past, I used to translate and to make some articles about the series when I was still working at DualShockers. But yeah, nowadays I want to try to avoid spoilers, so I'm not gonna read this info. And like I always say, like I don't like the reason why I know that much about the series despite not playing it myself is because my favorite French streamer is like the biggest fan of the series in France, and he regularly talks about it, and he regularly makes some live streams about it, and he plays the games in Japanese. So that's why I know so many stuff, and some of my online friends are big fans of the series as well. But yeah, I'm pretty excited for this. Like, I don't know when I will get to play Kai no Kiseki myself, maybe in 2 or 3 years, inshallah. But yeah, I wanted to talk about this because I really like Enami Kasumi, and I think this might be the first time actually that Enami Kasumi did the Sen no Kiseki, the Trails of Cold Steel characters, because Enami Katsumi was working on Zero no Kiseki, but then he wasn't working on the Sen no Kiseki on Trails of Cold Steel. So I think this might actually be the first time he's drawing Rin, but I'm not sure. So, but I think in Hajimari, maybe from Hajimari, I'm not sure. Maybe from Reverie, in Reverie, maybe he already did the designs for the Sen characters. But anyway, yeah, Rin looks really cool. You have Altina as well, extremely cute as always with a brand new outfit. Crow is extremely cool as always, so I'm really excited. Like, it's like Inami Katsumi Sensei's designs are really, really great. So it's just I'm really, really happy to be seeing this. And Fi, sadly, she has the same portrait as in the first game, so they didn't make a new one, sadly. And Toa got a new portrait as well. She got a new portrait. So yeah, it's very funny. Like, I don't know when I will be playing this, but like I really like the series, so I just want to talk about this a little bit. Oh yeah, and some of my French friends, they always call Toa the demon of Erevoria. So this always makes me laugh. They always talk like they don't hate her, obviously, but they always joke about her being the demon of Erevoria. So this makes me laugh. And yeah, so Dengeki in its weekly news stream this week, like every 2 weeks, they do some, like every 2 or 3 weeks, they talk about Kai no Kiseki. So this time they showed some gameplay and they're going to show some gameplay and stuff. So I assume they might show some direct gameplay, but yeah, they're going to show some gameplay of Rin and Crow, and I guess Altina as well, and maybe some others. And these are the past gameplays they did. So another thing that seems to be like they didn't confirm that yet, but maybe Kai no Kiseki will be kinda like Hajimari, kinda like Reverie in how they might be different protagonists. Maybe there will be like something like a Rin route, and something like a Van route, like Calvard characters route, and Sen no Kiseki characters route, and maybe a Kevin route as well. Like maybe they're going to do something similar to what they did in Hajimari. So we'll know more tomorrow. But yeah, I'm not gonna read the details too much either because I don't want to spoil myself too much either, because I hope I will be able to play the series from the beginning one day. For now, I just played a little bit of Kuro no Kiseki of Trails Through Daybreak, and I also watched a whole Let's Play of Zero no Kiseki, the French streamer I was talking about, who is the biggest fan of the series in France. I watched his Let's Play streams of Zero no Kiseki, so I know this game, and I know a little bit of what happens in each game, but I've never spoiled myself everything either, so yeah. And now I don't really read the interviews, and I don't translate the interviews anymore, so I don't spoil myself anymore either, so yeah. I'm just gonna check the gameplay when it's out, and I'm not gonna read the details so I can keep the spoilers out. So yeah, just quick news to talk about Kai no Kiseki. Next, we have some pretty big news because Compile Heart and Sting announced a brand new Mado Monogatari game. It's a brand new RPG, and it's going to be released on PS5, PS4, and Switch in November 28th in Japan. And Mado Monogatari is a RPG series by Compile, and it's basically the series that gave birth to Puyo Puyo, the famous puzzle game by Sega. And it's pretty funny because, like, I never expected this to get a new game. Mado Monogatari, usually the protagonist of Mado Monogatari is Arl Nadja. You've already seen her. Or let me show her. Give me a second. The protagonist usually is Arl Nadja here, right? You can see her in Puyo Puyo. You can see her in since Puyo Puyo, she's the protagonist. She's actually the protagonist of Mado Monogatari. But in this new one, they're adding a brand new protagonist called Fia. It's called Mado Monogatari Fia to Fushigi no Nagakko, Fia and the Mysterious School. Yeah, this is pretty interesting because I never expected a new Mado Monogatari game to be released. This is typically the kind of series I've known since I was a kid, because I know about Puyo Puyo since I was a kid, but like I never played it, and I really want to play some of the games in the series. There are some dungeon crawler in Game Gear, and there are some other games on other consoles on Mega Drive. And yeah, Mado Monogatari, I think there's 4 main games, I think, if I remember correctly. So I'd really like to play them one day. So yeah, this game looks pretty fun as well. There was a trailer explaining like it's an RPG and with kinda fun mechanics. Let's watch some of the trailer while we keep talking. So yeah, they did some pretty good job with the visuals and stuff. So I'm really excited for this, but at the same time, since I want to play the older games first, I'm not sure when I will ever play this. The trailer is pretty long, 3 minutes, so I'm gonna keep talking at the same time. But yeah, this is typically the kind of announcement I never expected. I really like the character design, like they're all pretty cute. Like it's very, like Mado Monogatari, all the characters, they appear in Puyo Puyo, most of the characters, and they're super cute, so these characters don't lose to them in terms of cuteness. And you have the Puyo Puyos as well, you have the mascot thing as well. So yeah, this is a really exciting news. Hopefully the game will actually be good. But yeah, I wanna play the first games first before I will play this, so I have no idea when I will be able to play this, but this is still really exciting news as always. Carbuncle, yeah, that's his name, Carbuncle. the mascot of the Puyo Puyo series and of Mado Monogatari. And so yeah, you need to attend school and to solve people's worries, and you can do some farming as well, and some cooking and some fishing, and there's a lot of things you can do at the school. And then there's a dungeon part as well. So it's kinda like Persona in a way, to take a popular example. You have the school parts and then the dungeon parts. And speaking of Persona, which is a pretty funny example because in a way Puyo Puyo is kinda like Persona because Persona was initially a spin-off of Shin Megami Tensei and it got much more popular. And in the same way, Puyo Puyo got much more popular than Mado Monogatari, so it's pretty funny. So yeah, you have some monsters, and you have a menu to pick your what do you want to do in battle. So and depending on the orbs you gather, you can use different types of elemental magic. And there's a skill tree as well. So yeah, it's an action RPG, basically dungeon crawling action RPG. So it looks pretty fun. So yeah, like I'm really interested, but like sadly there's no way I'm going to buy this because I wanna play the other ones first. I'm the kind of person when it comes to older series, even if there's no story relation, and even if the games are bad or whatever, I always wanna play the first games in a series first, so I can see how the series changed over the years. It's pretty important for me. Like obviously you can always go back as well. Like I'm not forced to play things in release order, but personally that's how I like to do things, and I don't like to get into FOMO. I don't want to play things simply because they are new. I want to play what I want to play. So what I want to play is Mado Monogatari, the first games I've known since I was a kid, but sadly I couldn't play them because they are all in Japanese, I think. But now I think I should be able to understand them. So yeah, I want to try and play them soon. Yeah, so there's a press release introducing the characters with some of their portraits. I think there are multiple character designers, and Enami Katsumi is also on this game. They also did a few designs on this game as well. So, oh yeah, and the last thing I wanted to mention is Famitsu also mentioned that some of the original developers of the first Mado Monogatari games are working on this. Like some of the original developers from Compile are actually working on this game. So this is pretty cool. So yeah, new Mado Monogatari game getting released pretty soon. Oh yeah, and you can tell this was a pretty big announcement because like the Famitsu tweets announcing the game got over 10,000 retweets, so you can easily tell like a lot of fans, a lot of Puyo Puyo fans are looking forward to this, and a lot of RPG fans who liked the past games in the Mado Monogatari series are looking forward to this. So yeah, this is pretty big news and pretty fun news. Pretty happy for them. So very short and fun news. Okubo Rumi, a very popular seiyuu I really like, said she got the figure for Angela in Trials of Mana, the remake of Seiken Densetsu 3. And Okubo Rumi is a seiyuu. She's the voice actress voicing Angela, and she's a very popular seiyuu nowadays because a lot of people know her for Astolfo in FGO and for Elizabeth in FGO as well. But personally, I like her the most for Mia in Prejudicism. She was the protagonist of Prejudicism GR My Future, the second series in Prejudicism. And she's a really incredible protagonist, and I really like her. And she was also Oda Nobunaga in Sengoku Collection, which was an incredible anime, a really, really great anime you should watch. It was one of the best anime of the 2010 decade, in my opinion. So yeah, just quick fun news to talk about how she got the Angela figure, and she says that she's pretty happy when fans tell her that they liked her performance as Angela. So yeah, pretty cute and pretty fun news. And she's a really good figure overall as well. So yeah, pretty fun news. I just wanted to quickly mention this. Another very quick news is that Bandai Namco and Sunrise announced a brand new orchestra concert for Aikatsu. So it's going to be on 2025 March 20th in Japan. So yeah, this is pretty funny because Aikatsu is kinda dead at the moment. But however, like a few months ago, it was revealed that Bandai Namco, they trademarked Aikatsu Academy. So I think they're going to make a new season. And in my opinion, I never watched all of Aikatsu. I only watched the first season. I gotta watch Aikatsu Stars and Aikatsu Friends and Aikatsu Planet. And I also gotta watch other seasons of the first series. I only watched like the first season of the first series. But Aikatsu, in my opinion, it was always in reaction to the market and in reaction to Takara Tomi's Prechi series. And in my opinion, because they saw that Prechi series was restarting, because Prechi series was also stopped at some point in 2023. It also stopped for like a year or something. So in my opinion, Bandai Namco higher ups, as soon as they saw that the new Himitsu no IP got announced, the new Prechi series was announced, they decided to greenlight a new Aikatsu series as well. So they're working on it at the moment, and we don't know yet what kind of thing it will be. But yeah, in my opinion, Aikatsu was always in a reaction. So now that Himitsu no IP Prechi series is continuing, Bandai Namco must have decided to continue Aikatsu as well. So we don't know yet when Aikatsu Academy will get revealed and whether it will be a TV series or a game or both. We don't know that yet. But yeah, the series is definitely not dead because they're making this big orchestra concert now in March 2025. So yeah. And there are going to be some of the singing voices of some of the characters as well, and one of the composers. So yeah, this is pretty interesting news, and we will probably hear more about Aikatsu pretty soon. Like in these next few months, I think they might announce what Aikatsu Academy actually is. So yeah, just wanted to mention this. And this is going to be the last news for today. Avex and Tatsunoko Production, they revealed some new details on the next King of Prism movie, the first King of Prism movie in 4 years. King of Prism Dramatic Prism 1. So they revealed this new key visual with Shin and Louis. They also revealed a new trailer. It kind of spoils a little bit because it spoils stuff from the past movies, and I haven't seen the past movies yet, so I'm not gonna watch it. But basically, they revealed that some things they will add some new CG scenes. Basically, this is going to be a remake of Shiny 7 Stars with some new scenes. They are going to add a new scene with Over the Rainbow doing Hachimitsu Kiss together, with Hiro and Koji and Kazuki doing Hachimitsu Kiss together. And this is the first time you see Kazuki doing Hachimitsu Kiss. It's the first time we see Hiro doing it as well. It's the first time we see them doing it, all three of them together. And Joji is also going to get a CG scene because in Shiny 7 Stars, in his episode, his Prism show was in 2D, and this time they remade it in 3D. So it is also one of the new things. And after that, you have some new CG things that they're going to add as well. I'm gonna scroll to not spoil myself too much. And yeah, so after that, they also announced that they're going to release a new album together with the movie. And this is going to be the first album featuring the group that the Edelrules students make in Shiny 7 Stars, Septentorium. So the album is called We Are Septentorium, and there's going to be some brand new songs in it as well. Like some of these are old, and some of these are covers, like Boy Meets Girl, like the first opening of Rainbow Life. It's going to be a cover, but there's also going to be some brand new songs in there. So yeah, it's pretty exciting news. And they're also going to release some new merch, some the Prism Watches merch. They're going to make one for each character. And yeah, they revealed this new key visual as well. So yeah, overall the movie is going to be kinda like a recap, but with some new elements and some new story elements as well, and with some new CG scenes and some new songs as well. So yeah, hopefully it will work well, and hopefully we will get more after that, because like this is kinda a bit worrying, because this is the first movie in 4 years and they finally made a new movie. They finally convinced the higher ups at Avex to make a new movie, but however, like they couldn't get a lot of confidence, I assume. So they are making some kind of recap movie with some new stuff. So yeah, they're going to add some new CG scenes, some new songs, and they're releasing a new album. And there's still the browser game that's about to release as well. So that's that as well. Yeah, so King of Prism, like I always say, it's a sequel to Perivism, which is my favorite series of the last decade. So I really like these movies as well. Like the second King of Prism movie is one of my favorite movies ever, in my opinion. It's one of the best movies ever, in my opinion. So yeah, hopefully this movie will work. And one day I wanna try to talk about the series in detail in English in some videos, because a lot of people still don't have no idea what futurism is. So yeah, I wanna talk about it in detail one day. Yeah, that's it for today's episodes of the Full Metal Alchemy news show. So my voice is kind of really hoarse because like I'm kind of tired today, but I think I'm still pretty understandable. I'll try to make some subtitles as always. I try to correct the automatic subtitles when I have the time. But yeah, thanks for watching and see you later. Bye bye.